The flickering fluorescent lights of the server room hummed a low, constant drone. Anya, hunched over her keyboard, scrolled through lines of cryptic text. Her brow was furrowed in concentration, a stray strand of dark hair falling across her cheek. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and stale coffee. "Anything?" Mark asked, leaning against the door frame. He held two steaming mugs, the aroma of dark roast momentarily cutting through the sterile air. Anya took a mug, her fingers brushing his. Still nothing concrete. The bounce-backs are relentless, but the logs are clean. It's like the emails are just evaporating. "Evaporating is not a technical term, Anya," Mark said, a faint smile playing on his lips. He sat on a nearby stool, the metal groaning under his weight. I know," she sighed, taking a grateful sip of coffee. "But that's how it feels. We send them out, and they just vanish. No NDR, no errors, nothing to indicate a problem on our end. And the client is breathing down our necks. They're threatening to pull the contract." "This is more than just a few lost emails, isn't it?" Mark's tone shifted, losing its lightness. "It's massive. Hundreds of thousands of emails a day, and a significant portion aren't being delivered. And it's not just one recipient domain. It's across the board. We've checked our IP reputation, our sending limits, our content filters. Everything looks pristine." Anya ran a hand through her hair, frustration evident. "Have you tried MXToolbox?" Mark asked, his gaze steady. Anya scoffed. "Of course we have. It's the first thing we did. SPF, DKIM, DMARC, blacklists, all green. Our mail servers are configured perfectly, according to every standard check. It's maddening." "You've checked all of them?" Mark pressed. "Even the less obvious ones? Sometimes it's a subtle misconfiguration, a tiny typo in a text record that slips through the automated checks." Anya paused, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. "What do you mean?" "We ran the full suite. DNS lookup, SMTP test, blacklist checks, headers check. It's all there." "What about the headers?" Mark asked, taking another sip of his coffee. "Have you ever dug deep into the actual email headers for a few of the lost emails? Not just the ones that bounced back, but the ones that just didn't arrive?" Anya frowned. "We analyzed the headers of the bounced emails, obviously, but the ones that didn't bounce, they never reached the recipient, so there are no headers to analyze on their end." "But there are headers on our end," Mark countered. "The headers before the email leaves our server, the ones that show the path it should have taken, and sometimes the recipient's server might send back an invisible acknowledgement, a silent rejection that doesn't trigger a visible bounce message." Anya's eyes widened slightly. She navigated to a different section of her terminal, her fingers flying across the keys. She pulled up a log file, searching for specific timestamps. "Okay, let's try this. I'll grab a few email IDs from the client's sent logs, then I'll try to find any corresponding entries in our outbound SMTP logs that show a successful connection and transfer." She worked in silence for a few minutes, the only sound the rhythmic clicking of her keyboard. Mark watched her, a quiet observer. "Here," Anya finally said, pointing to a section of the screen. "Email ID ABC123XYZ, sent at 10:03:15. Log entry shows a successful connection to recipient mail server 192.168.10.50, and the transfer was acknowledged. No errors reported by our server." "And the client insists they never received it?" "Absolutely. And this is happening for hundreds of emails within that minute. It's not a single failed delivery. It's a pattern of silent failures." Anya's voice was tight with a new kind of frustration, one born from encountering a problem that defied easy explanation. "Let's go back to MXToolbox," Mark said, his gaze fixed on the screen. "You said you checked all the DNS records. What about the MX records themselves? Are they correctly configured, and are they pointing to the right servers?" Yes, of course, Anya replied, a touch of weariness in her voice. We've verified them multiple times. They point to the correct mail servers for the recipient domains. And what if, Mark began slowly, what if the recipient's mail server is configured to only accept mail from specific IP addresses and we're not on that list? Or conversely, what if they've set up a rule to reject mail from certain IP ranges and we've inadvertently fallen into one of them? Anya stared at him. But the MXToolbox checks wouldn't flag that. They check for the existence and correctness of the records, not for specific IP whitelists or blacklists on the receiving end. That's server-side configuration, not DNS. Exactly, Mark confirmed, and that's where the silent failures come from. The mail is sent, our server thinks it's delivered, but the recipient's server silently drops it because it doesn't meet some internal security policy. It's like sending a letter to a P.O. box that has a strict no unsolicited mail policy. The post office takes it, but the box itself rejects it without a trace. Anya's fingers were already flying again, this time navigating to the client's communication portal. She found the contact for the IT administrator of the recipient organization. I'm going to reach out to them, she announced. I'll explain the situation, and I'll ask them to check their mail server logs for any recent rejections or dropped connections from our IP addresses. I'll specifically mention the possibility of IP-based filtering or silent rejection policies. Mark nodded. It's the most logical next step. If they can see the rejections on their end, we can work with them to get our IPs whitelisted or adjust our sending practices. Anya typed out a concise professional email detailing the problem and her hypothesis. She attached a list of their sending IP addresses and the timestamps of the suspected silent failures. The wait was agonizing. The hum of the server seemed to amplify the silence. Anya chewed on her lip, her eyes darting between the terminal and her inbox. Mark sat patiently, nursing his now cool coffee. Then a notification pinged. An email from the recipient's IT administrator. Anya's heart leaped into her throat. She clicked it open, her eyes scanning the text rapidly. "They found it!" she exclaimed, a wave of relief washing over her. "You were right, Mark. They had recently implemented a new, aggressive spam filtering policy. It was set to silently drop any inbound mail from IP addresses that weren't explicitly whitelisted. Our IPs, which are dynamic and change periodically, had fallen off their whitelist." Mark let out a slow breath. So, it was a configuration issue on their end all along. Exactly. They've now whitelisted our entire IP range. They apologized for the inconvenience and assured us it wouldn't happen again. Anya leaned back in her chair, a weary but triumphant smile on her face. "I'll send out a test batch now and monitor closely." She initiated a small sending test, her eyes glued to the monitoring dashboard. This time, the delivery reports were instantaneous and positive. The emails were arriving, confirmed by the client. "It worked," Anya whispered, a genuine smile finally breaking through. MXToolbox is great for checking the health of our own domain and mail servers, but sometimes the problem lies with the recipient, and that's where a bit of detective work and a good understanding of how mail servers communicate comes in. Mark stood up, clapping her gently on the shoulder. "See? Even the industry standards need a bit of human intuition to point them in the right direction." Anya laughed, the sound echoing in the server room. "I owe you one, Mark. Big time. Now, about that contract renewal?" The hum of the servers continued, no longer a sound of frustration, but a steady, reassuring rhythm of successful communication. The mystery of the vanishing emails was solved, a testament to the fact that even the most advanced tools are only as effective as the understanding and insight of the people using them. Hey, to contact me, use the secure contact form on guyarcook.com. If you like this content, found it helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Subscribe for more valuable content on digital marketing and other things. It's a wrap.